Daí, Borgochon na área, e comente abaixo se você é fã de uma boa história ou prefere soco, tiro, porrada e bomba. Sabe por quê? Porque eu tô jogando agora Star Citizen. E no vídeo de hoje eu vou mostrar o replay da apresentação da CitizenCon 2019, ao qual falou aí sobre a lore do game. Então, antes da gente continuar, não esqueça de se inscrever e deixar aquele joinha maroto pra fortalecer o canal. Beleza? Bora lá?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi, everyone.
That was exactly the right amount of dramatic entrance that we need to start our presentation.
Yeah, if it's any less, we just can't do it.
yeah.
Hello and welcome to Lore Maker's Guide to 2949.
All right. And I guess we'll go down the round. I'm Dave Haddock, narrative director at CIG.
I'm Will Weisbaum, lead writer.
And I am Sherry Heiberg, archivist.
So we are very, very proud to present something special this time.
Well, actually, before we get to that, though, Jared wanted us to let you know that we're going to be doing a live Q&A afterwards. So if you have questions percolating or things you want to lob at us, we'll be over there with him once we're done. But yes, as Will said, we are really, really excited. We've been working on this for a really long time, working with some lyricists and choreographers. And is this?
Is our clicker moving forward? Oh, there we go.
Nope.
You got it?
Oh, nope.
Oh,
Wrong one.
that's for later.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
what
can we switch to the slideshow, please? PowerPoint?
switch to the PowerPoint, please?
Bueller.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. All right.
Perfect.
So yes, lyricists, choreographers, whatnot, to bring you a very special edition of Star Watch Live.
Yep.
Very excited.
We've heard the requests.
Yeah, we know you love it, so we're going to
It's
keep
a-
bringing it back
Yeah.
over.
It's our favorite show, so.
Yeah, so we're kidding, of course. Today we're going to talk about bartenders' liens. It's also very exciting, something we're very passionate about.
We're going to get a guy to host it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding again.
But anyway, yeah, so on to the real stuff. This is Lore Maker's Guide to 2949. So in a nutshell, what we're looking to do today is we're kind of breaking this up and wanted to give you guys kind of a sense of what the narrative team kind of fictionally is looking to kind of tackle in the coming year.
And by starting that and by kind of taking a snapshot at the high-level story of where we are in the universe right now.
Yeah, so, for a lot of you, this will probably be review, but it's, always good, always helpful to try it. So just to kind of run through kind of where the universe is at right now, we're currently enmeshed in a really, really bad military conflict with the Vandul in response to their attack on Vega 2, which is kind of a drag.
But
Yeah,
it
the-
works.
The Vandal are kind of an interesting enemy for the UE. Because they are their decentralized structure, they have all these clans that keep striking at different areas. They've been very hard for the UE to wage kind of a unified war effort
It's
against.
a sort of unconventional warfare thing, so it's not really something that...
Yeah, no central leadership, so, hard.
A little tricky.
Yeah.
You know, it's the height of their attacks came when the UE just overthrew Messer, and they were very hesitant to start getting involved in a new Xeno war once again. And plus, it's kind of this pattern where the Vandal do these small skirmish attacks, and then they do like a very big attack and kick us out of a system like Orion or Tiber or Virgil, and then they'll go away after they've done that, and just again with the small skirmishes. So it's kind of been building and building and building until, Vega 2.
Right.
Yeah. But unfortunately, there's sort of a weird side effect of that is because the military sort of diverted most of their resources over to kind of fuel the Vandal war effort, it's left kind of local law enforcement a little bit stretched as
Fala aí,
far as
pessoal,
support
voltei.
goes. So that's kind of the stuff that you guys have been
Pelo visto,
actively
Borgo ainda
taking
não,
part
né?
in on both sides of the equation. With the increase of crime. So needless to say, like as law enforcement kind of turns to the civilian populace to kind of help fill in the gaps, that's why we're getting a lot of bounty missions and mercenary missions, and Crusader Security is desperately looking for you guys to help. And for those of you who like to steal, this is your time.
Yeah, because normally in the ideal situation you have a thing where the advocacy kind of identifies.
Pelo visto eles estão descrevendo a situação atual do Império, né, dos humanos, né, como é que as coisas estão, o que está rolando, né, atualmente. Falando que os Xians começaram a fazer comércio com os humanos, né, porque isso realmente é uma parada bem recente, né? Os caras tiveram como se fosse uma espécie de guerra fria, né, com os humanos.
I can visualize that. Yeah, started way back in 2018.
Uma nova onda separatista da OE, realmente. Os caras estão descrevendo basicamente o que está rolando, né, atualmente no Império.
Effect of terraforming is we alter a planet's temperature, atmosphere, all this stuff, and most of the native life is wiped out. It's part of the process. And that's been kind of upsetting to people because we started realizing that we were wiping out sentient species along the way. And so that started like the Fair Chance Act.
Exactly, yeah.
Which you know a lot about from all
Black Scorpion, respondendo sua pergunta, por enquanto só humano, mas eles já mencionaram que tem planos para que você possa escolher outras raças, né?
Not a messer in hundreds of years.
So kind of like the next step in that protecting these resources has been the idea, what if humans no longer needed to terraform worlds altogether? And that's where kind of Synth World came in, a full artificial planet.
No universo do Star Citizen, para quem não sabe, a gente tem alguns impérios aí, raças, né, importantes, né? Seria além dos humanos, seria os Banus, né, que são uma raça, que é uma confederação de comércio, basicamente. Opa, e aí, Borra? A gente está falando sobre a situação atual, né, do Império, né, eles estão explicando.
Eles vão falar sobre a lore mesmo.
As atividades mais recentes, né?
Eles não têm mais aquele programa que eles tinham, né? O Lore Makers, né? Eles pararam, né?
Pelo visto sim, né? Eu realmente não tenho visto a... Acho que o nome dela é Mônica, não é? Aquela que é a principal que faz. Ela tá sentada ali na direita.
The Human Xi'an Trade Initiative. I mean, from the time of the Messers, we've been kind of at a Cold War with the Xi'an, where tensions were very high, and with the fall of the Messers, that began to thaw out. And it's been a very long and slow process to get to this point where we're starting to really trade and deal with the Xi'an, because a lot of them were alive back then, so they kind of remembered us being jerks, which is really entertaining to me.
Yeah, Emperor Cray especially.
Cara, a lore do game ela é muito rica.
Então, é um detalhe interessante que eles estão comentando, né? A raça Xi'an, eles conseguem viver por muito tempo, né? Então, os caras que estão vivos hoje são os mesmos que passaram pelo período de Guerra Fria entre os humanos e os Xi'ans, né? Então, os caras ainda estão muito presos no passado, muito sentido, né, do que aconteceu, né? Já o nosso lado não, porque quem passou pelo período de Guerra Fria já morreu, sabe? Já passou do tempo de vida, né? Então a gente tem uma interpretação, né, uma postura diferente dos fatos. Para eles é algo que é muito mais recente do que pra gente.
A lore do game, ela é muito rica, cara, e muito bem feita.
Os caras pensam em uns detalhes, né,
cara? Gostei muito de ler sobre a guerra contra os Tevarin. Muito show.
Se eu pudesse jogar com alguma outra raça, seria de Tevarin. Certeza, cara.
Eles são baseados em samurais, né?
Na cultura japonesa. Pô, muito maneiro.
Mas eles foram um baita nos malditos, né? Porque quem começou a guerra foram eles. Eles cresceram o olho em cima dos planetas dos humanos.
E é um dos poucos exemplos onde a gente tem a tecnologia superior, né? Porque a maioria dos filmes coloca os alienígenas como os caras high-tech, né? E na Guerra Tevarin era o contrário, né? Tevarins, eles tinham uma tecnologia mais antiquada do que a nossa.
Eu não sei se era antiquada ou se a gente era mais evoluído que eles, né?
Relativo, né?
É. Até porque, por exemplo, existiam algumas coisas bem tecnológicas, como, por exemplo, até a Prowler, né? Que foi algo bem incomodativo na guerra entre os humanos e os Tevarin. Que era uma nave de stealth.
Dropship.
Que os caras usavam para invadir as naves humanas.
Então, esse era um dos poucos pontos em que ele tinha uma tecnologia melhor do que a nossa, né? Que era no quesito escudos, né? E furtividade. A tecnologia deles nessa área era muito boa, realmente. Mas tirando essa parte, todo o resto, eles perdiam pra gente.
Humanity is now a progressive spacefaring species. So the one thing we should do, the best way to kind of symbolize that is to cut our ties with basically the kind of the awful history that Earth has represented, and while still acknowledging it as our home world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Terra is kind of our new beacon of how we want to behave and how.
O Reo Jim perguntou se tem onde a gente conseguir ler a lore do game. Se eu não me engano, no próprio site lá da SIG tem.
Uma tonelada de coisa.
Acho que o Asla comentando ali que na verdade os humanos estavam terraformando um planeta Tevarin. Eles só se defenderam. Se eu não me engano, cara, acho que não foi bem assim que aconteceu, tá? Eu ia precisar dar uma lida, uma relida na lore, né? Mas se eu não me engano, cara, eles tiveram um contato com os Tevarin de primeiro. E quase foi um incidente diplomático, né?
Não, você tá confundindo. Tá confundido com o Banu, isso.
Ah, é verdade.
Que era um fugitivo.
Sim. Mas eles não chegaram a terraformar. Eles não chegaram a terraformar antes um planeta Tevarin pra depois começar a guerra, né?
Eu acho que foi esse um dos motivos da guerra.
Será?
Eu tô tentando lembrar.
Eu não me lembro eu sei que eles realmente terraformaram um planeta. Mas acho que foi depois da guerra.
Transition into this phase of our presentation was actually kind of brought on by us appearing on Inside Star Citizen with that guy. And one of the community questions was very interesting, which was, hey, Imperator Costigan is supposed to serve for 10 years. Imperators are only supposed to serve a single term. It's 2949. Isn't he about to get out of office?
Eu sei que sim, eles terraformaram alguns planetas Tevarin, mas eu só não me lembro se foi antes ou depois da guerra.
So yeah, it's something we've had in the background of our head, but it really reminded us that this is a ticking clock that we need to look at, and we got kind of excited when we were talking through the end of Costigan's time in office and what we could do with that.
Eles estão falando de uma parada bem interessante, né, sobre a situação atual do imperador, né, que é o Costigan, né? O mandato dele está acabando e tem essa situação que tem gente que acha que ele não vai largar o poder. Ele vai tentar puxar umas cordas e tentar se manter no poder, né, e isso pode criar mais movimento separatista, porque já existe, né, vários movimentos separatistas dentro do Império. E aí isso pode, sei lá, explodir numa guerra civil.
Será que isso aí não pode ser um movimento que vai começar de repente baseado na história da campanha? A invasão lá de Vega 2 para os Vanduul? Porque disse que foi negligenciado lá, né?
Então, a campanha, o que tudo aponta, a timeline dela é anterior ao universo. Então, quando a gente for jogar o Esquadrão 42, provavelmente a gente vai jogar alguns anos antes do universo. Entendeu? Isso aí não está 100% confirmado, mas é o que eles apontam, né, os comentários deles lá. Parece que vai ser mais ou menos isso. O Esquadrão 42 já é a história do passado, entendeu?
Ah, entendi.
Mesmo a gente não sabendo, né, o que vai acontecer, já é passado o Esquadrão 42.
Beleza.
were kind of expecting.
Inclusive, o Esquadrão 42 teve uma grande participação na Guerra Tevarin, né? Acho que foram eles que... No segundo ataque, foram eles que acho que venceram os Tevarin no combate.
O Esquadrão 42 ele tem uma história muito antiga, né? Ele é como se fosse um esquadrão já de reputação, né? Lendário.
By introducing the Militia Mobilization Act and resurrecting what's called the Civil Defense Force, which is sort of a program underneath the advocacy where they can kind of deputize civilians to help kind of combat crime if they need it.
Yeah, this is a relatively recent initiative, so 2946 it was passed, and so we're still seeing the ripples of this kind of push forward. There's always been militias. Planets have always instituted militias to protect their worlds, but now it's taking them to the next level and relying more and more for entire system safety on these military organizations.
So, in a nutshell, what was sort of pointed out to us kind of presented an idea of
eles estão falando dessa política dele de milícias, né? Ele tem criado cada vez mais milícias, tem incentivado cada vez mais a criação dessas milícias para dar suporte aí aos militares, né? Porque finalmente o público está começando a perceber que a ameaça de Vandu não está estagnada, né, como eles estavam achando antes. Existe um risco de invasão, né? Então ele está conseguindo convencer o público que o Império precisa voltar a se militarizar, né?
E isso bate muito bem com o gameplay que a gente tem no universo, né? Onde os civis têm acesso a naves de combate, né?
Isso, exato. Até de escala muito grande, né?
Sim.
Isso justifica, né? Bom, agora ele está explicando a estrutura, né, política do Império, né?
The prisons, the courts, all that stuff, all that kind of enforcement. So, as we said, the Imperator's only allowed to serve one single 10-year sentence because they're terrified of having another messer, so they put in all these obstacles that would prevent another one from coming to light. So, in a nutshell, that actually kind of opened up the doors.
Eles criaram essa estrutura para evitar outra era mestre, né?
A gente acabou, aspas, né, em termos assim de história, né, já tem um tempo, mas a gente acabou de sair desse período aí de praticamente ditadura, né, onde você tinha esse imperador que não saía, né, desse cargo, e eles montaram esse sistema justamente para evitar esse tipo de situação, né. E é por isso que você tem esse movimento separatista ocorrendo já com medo de que o Costigan vire mais um Messer, né?
Sim.
So basically the way we kind of worked it out was, again, there was sort of this idea, you know, if you've heard us talk about kind of the government as a character, as a personality, this sort of idea that post-Messer they were very, there was a huge desire to be progressive, to be seen as progressive, because it's sort of that we're not that anymore. We'll do anything in our power to make sure that we don't look like that anymore.
Yeah, and if you think about the history of like how did the Imperator come to being, like when Messer just came into power, he
o Messer ele ganha bastante poder, acho que foi na primeira guerra Tevarin, né?
Formed the United Empire of Earth at that moment, and ever since then it was just him and his kids taking the role. And so at the transition point after the fall of the Messers, where Aaron Toy first like proposed this new position, there was a lot of debate back and forth, and we get this question a lot. If the UEE was so terrible under the Messers and the Imperator represents so much bad, why did that persevere into the modern form of government? And I think at one point it was very questionable at that transition point whether the government, the humanity as a whole, was going to stay united in the face of all that had happened. In a lot of ways, because there were still a lot of loyalists going around, still in support of the Messer regime. He was unpopular, but there was a lot of people who made a lot of money underneath him and who still were tied to that old regime. And so a big compromise was that this is still that same empire. it's just heading in a new direction. So it was kind of easing people into the future without shattering everything that had built.
Yeah, they didn't want to kind of make too abrupt of a turn.
É interessante que ele está falando, ele está explicando o porquê que depois da era Messer a gente não deixou de ser um império, né? Por que a gente continuou sendo império, mesmo tendo esse passado assim tão negativo, né, em relação a essa figura de imperador. E ele explica, né, que você tinha pessoas tomando muito cuidado para que o império não se estilhaçasse, sabe? Que nem vidro. Se separasse em milhares de pedaços. Tinha muita gente que tinha ganhado muito dinheiro e muita influência na época do Império. Então, conseguiu fazer com que a coisa se mantesse do jeito que está. A única diferença é que eles estão mostrando que eles estão apontando para uma direção totalmente diferente, né, do passado, mas que o Império continua sendo o Império, continua o mesmo. Né?
Because also, as you know, citizens are the only ones who can vote for the imperator. Civilians can't. They can only vote in local elections. The highest level they can vote is the governor of their planet, but that's about it.
So at the start of this process, there is this all call, and basically it's very egalitarian where everyone can participate, even you, Sherry.
Even me.
So the idea is that they want new voices. They want fresh people to be able to to feel empowered to try and kind of make a run at being imperator. You don't have to be sort of an entrenched politico, even though, as we all know, those tend to kind of have a lot of clout already, so they tend to make it easy. But the idea was that the sort of opening phase would be an opportunity for anybody, any citizen here could basically put together a video where they're talking about their ideology of like how they would handle certain issues, what their platform is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they just dump it on basically like the government Spectrum page, basically, and people get to vote on it. You just need 1,000 signatures to do it, and then you're in. And so basically, the first wave of election is massive. It's probably thousands of candidates that you can sift through, and then of course, it starts to kind of wheedle down from there. But
which is why it tends to favor the existing parties when they get.
Aí eles estão falando no processo de como o governador é eleito.
Pelo visto, houve uma mudança na maneira de que como eram indicadas as pessoas, né? E a coisa foi facilitada, né? E parece que teve tipo como se fosse uma onda nova, né, de pessoas entrando na política.
Mas tu só precisa ter 100 votos para poder participar, né?
Não, ele falou 1.000, eu acho. Para se candidatar.
1.000 votos só para poder se candidatar, né?
So basically, in a nutshell, we're going to be having an election.
So the big focus of next year, 2950, is going to be an election cycle that we're hoped to get you involved in, and so you'll see a lot of the lore that we post onto the website and to Spectrum and in Jump Point, kind of relating back to this overarching storyline.
Yeah.
And so moving into that, we kind of looking at the next steps is what's coming up. So we have a list here of kind of what are the big issues that these candidates are going to be facing. And we hit a lot of these at the opening in the State of the Union. So the postings, like the Van Duel, the big question is, okay, we're at war now. What does the end of that war look like? How are these new imperators going to pursue it? Is it the complete annihilation of the Van Duel? Is it just the retaking of those border systems? Is it
completely withdrawing?
Yeah, do you have a peace treaty with the Van Duel? Like, so these are the things that people are going to be putting forth.
Please, peace treaty. That would be so funny to watch.
They have crime, and so there's a lot of differing opinions.
Será que essa lore ela vai ser viva dentro do game? Será que, por exemplo, os jogadores vão poder escolher novo imperador e de repente, dependendo da escolha, vai acontecer uma coisa diferente no game? De repente, nós vamos ficar mais agressivo contra os Vanduls, nós vamos ficar mais defensivo. Será que vão ter tipo esses tipos de evento no game?
Eles já comentaram a intenção deles de que a lore seja player driven, né? Então, o que você
might
faz
have influence,
afeta
it might
realmente
be
o
the
universo.
surgence of
Agora o ponto é a escala, né?
candidates
Tem que lembrar
who are
disso.
gonna take a
Eles já deixaram meio que claro que a gente não necessariamente é o protagonista, né? A gente não é o centro das atenções. Então, pra gente, tipo, conseguir mudar alguma coisa nesse patamar, é preciso muita gente pra gente conseguir fazer alguma coisa. O exemplo é, sei lá, vamos tentar tirar um planeta dos Vandus.
Sim.
Quantas pessoas você acha que a gente vai precisar para fazer isso, sabe? Não é simplesmente uma única organização chegar lá e falar que vai fazer.
Sim.
Não tem como, sabe? Mas que a ideia deles é essa, sabe? A gente poder mudar as coisas.
Sure. Yeah, so there's the universalists who are sort of the kind of
O Elite ele trabalha muito bem, né, com esse tipo de missões de comunidade, né?
They're basically like kind of strongly believe that government and systems are sort of the ultimate paradigm and will kind of guide the people. Centralists who are kind of a little bit more libertarian, who it's about, weirdly enough, it's about kind of sustaining the status quo, but it's excelling through the values of humanity. Sort of embrace the past, be proud of where you came from. Obviously, they're sort of Earth supporters. And then there's the transitionalists who, unsurprisingly, they kind of tout themselves as sort of the People's Party. They're formed around, a very, very progressive agenda. Obviously, they're looking very much towards the future. They want to move, the capital to Terra. They want to kind of open up like even more kind of trade and relations with the Xi'an, with the Banu. Uplift the Tavaran even more.
Bom, aqui a gente tem um exemplo clássico, né, do que acontece, né, na política. Então a gente tem o lado da esquerda, direita, pessoal do centro. Só nomes diferentes, né?
Some of the ones that we wanted to highlight for you today. So the first one is Titus Costigan, who is our current imperator's
Essas eleições será que vão poder ser feitas pelos próprios jogadores? Acho que eles estavam comentando algo desse jeito, né?
For a while on the board of directors, and he is very much has a focus on the economy, just like his dad. He wants to spur growth. He's about decentralization. He thinks
ele está comentando sobre o filho do imperador. A postura dele é mais focada na economia, que nem o pai. Ele tem muitas ideias de descentralização, né? Porque hoje você tem o centro, né, político, né, na Terra. E você tem essa ideia aí de tentar descentralizar a coisa.
As the imperator, and then his son be the next imperator.
It sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah, so everyone's
we've done that before.
A little worried about how that could turn out. So the next one is actually Ilyana Sharad, who's sort of she's currently serving. You've seen her pop up in several short stories. Is the current High Secretary under Costigan. The sort of assumption would be that she would get sort of his nod endorsement as a candidate, but she's a universalist. She's from Borea, but she's also she's very focused on the economy, but with a huge skew towards security. So she wants to heavily promote kind of defense spending and investing in that stuff because basically humanity can thrive if there's a really strong sense of security. If people feel safe, they'll spend.
Like how wars generate a lot
universalista.
of jobs, and that kind of idea is that we're at war now. We should be embracing it and spending more and more of the taxes withdrawn in to drum up the security in the systems and to start that war machine turning to get back to the glory days of the empire.
But she also has a somewhat what would be sort of a controversial
Não deu para ver o nome da pessoa, mas é alguém que vai focar na economia, mas também vai usar ela para mover a máquina de guerra, né?
Parece ser alguma figura política mais conservadora, né?
Yeah, you want to sleep in public housing, you're going to be doing work for the government in order to pay that back.
Yeah. So obviously it's going to be fun to write some debates on that one. Next is Mira No, who, if you are big fans of Congress Now, you'd probably recognize. She's a transitionist,
transitionalist?
God, oh, it's so hard.
Did I
Anyway, she's a senator of Terra. She's been introducing legislation to try to, in Senate, to actually move the capital to Terra.
Então, pelo visto, a gente tem os universalistas, que são o lado conservador da coisa, né? O pessoal do centro, que é meio do caminho, e esses transitionalistas, né? E seria o pessoal a favor de descentralização, ideias mais de separatismo, né?
She's trying to outlaw terraforming, so obviously she's kind of in support of the synth world, so take that for what you will. So yeah, she'll be an interesting one to follow as well.
We have Emma Thorne, who is the current Deputy Assistant Director of the Advocacy, and she is another big security hawk, and her big thing is that we need to beef up the advocacy roles in the systems. Like, we can't rely on civilians, they are not trained for the job. It is important that we
aí já é uma opinião totalmente diferente, né? Eles são contra a milícia, né? Já falam que a gente não pode deixar isso, a nossa segurança, na mão dos civis, né?
Civilians, it shouldn't be your responsibility to fight criminals in your hometown. Like, that should be the job of law enforcement. They should be taking care of that. You shouldn't need to put your lives on the line for it.
A gente fala que essa responsabilidade tem que ficar na mão das forças, né, das autoridades, né, responsáveis.
Mas não pode deixar, senão a gente não joga, né, meu?
Aí não tem graça. Tem que ser Texas, cara.
Aqui cada um com a sua nave, né, meu? Vamos meter fogo nos caras.
Local militia guy who is running on a human first platform. So he is trying to restrict alien rights. He's basically trying to kick everybody out of the UEE. He's backed by some somewhat nebulous, shifty people.
Let's keep Earth things for Earthlings.
Yeah. Nice.
That's not mine.
Well, all right. Well, we know what his campaign slogan is going to be. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. So that's, again, sort of the idea of what we're sort of looking to get into. And obviously, like Will said, you know, we want to obviously engage you guys as much in this sort of process, so to make it fun and make it feel inviting and you know, and interesting and whatnot.
So that you can kind of help direct the shape of things to come.
Yeah.
Like we've seen in the past, we've done like Stoddard polls before where we ask your opinion on stuff like that. So expect more of that to come.
Yeah. And so that brings us actually to our next point, which is also another aspect of something that
Parece que a seguir vai voltar a perguntar a opinião da comunidade em relação à lore do game, né? Era algo que eles faziam antes com uma frequência bem maior.
No idea this was coming.
From watching earlier.
So we made the Galactopedia. It's yeah, I know it's been a long time coming. It's definitely a labor of love. We've worked on it for
Caraca,
years.
será que finalmente vai sair, cara?
So before we get into it in depth, it looks like we have switched to the live website, which you already know exists. So we may as well just take the tour through here. So the Galactopedia is a repository of information about the Star Citizen universe. It's written with the idea that you are someone who lives in the universe and you are accessing a live encyclopedia that is maintained by the ARC in the TIAC system, the library, the big like space station library that's kind of trying to preserve all the information in the universe that's known about.
Quero muito visitar a Arca lá no game, meu.
And I know you're wondering, do you have to be quiet when visiting it? Yes.
Very quiet.
Very quiet. Yeah,
Como é que é?
Muito querendo visitar a Arca, lá o The Ark.
And out of game. We are
a biblioteca, tá ligado?
Based platform.
Sei.
As you can see, we have all kinds of wonderful categories. You can click here. You can view all the categories that we have up so far. As we add more articles to the encyclopedia, to the Galactopedia, these categories will expand.
Finalmente.
Right now, this
Saiu
represents
então.
the scope of 200 articles that we have up right now.
Galactopedia.
We have, if I can click here, let's click on this. Which section shall we explore? Let us explore.
And just to reiterate, that's a big thing of that. This is going to be a continually growing knowledge base.
Yeah.
You know, as you probably
O
are
pessoal
aware,
tá
there's a lot
perguntando aonde
going
ler
on
lore.
with Star Citizen.
Acabou de ficar
It's gonna take us
muito
a while
mais
to catch
fácil.
up with our backlog, but we're working hard on it, and so.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of create a centralized place for you guys to come and kind of be able to dig into what are the various weird terms we keep throwing at you, and who are the weird people that we have fighting
O pessoal tá perguntando o que é a Galactipedia.
Here's an example
É
of,
basicamente a
kind of
Wikipedia
standard
do
size
Star
article that we
Citizen.
have put up so far.
Você vai escrever
It's
lá o que
about
você
1 to 2
quer
paragraphs long
saber,
normally.
né? E vai ter uma
We
ferramenta
made
de
this
busca
link
que vai
so that we
encontrar
could get as much
todos
information
os
out there as
documentos aí a
possible
respeito
to you as quickly
daquilo
as
que você está
possible.
querendo pesquisar.
And in most articles, you can click on a related link to keep exploring the topic.
Você tá enxergando ela no
Wander
site
around
lá?
for a while. We have a lot of our
Então, tô
spacecraft
caçando
up right
aqui.
now, and if you
Talvez
prefer
ainda não
not to do
esteja-
it by
Não tem
related
sido
articles,
publicado ainda, né?
you can choose to
É.
do the next article in alphabetical order. You can see
Se
what's
alguém
next in the
achar,
same
avisa aí no
category.
chat.
You can see what's next in the same tag, and I'll get into explaining tags in just a moment. Or you can see what's next you can also see what's next alphabetically, but again. And here's an example. Those of you who subscribe to Jump Point will already be familiar with the full-length Galactipedia
Ah, ficou
articles.
bem legal, né, meu?
Additionally, as we
Pô, tá
expand,
bonito, cara.
we do more content drops with the
É bem
paragraph link, we will be
Wikipedia
expanding
mesmo, né?
Sim.
existing articles so they are just as long as
Legal.
this. That have just as much detail. So it won't just be one paragraph. It'll be like a huge depth of information about any subject that you can think of.
Página da tartaruga, tá vendo?
And the bottom of the page is one of my favorite things about it, of just like being able to get lost in our lore a little bit, of like discovering these associated places and just keep reading and reading. So that's been really fun for me.
Yeah, you can skip around using this lovely little table of contents system. And let me show you, let's go back to the home page, and let me show you the tag system. So categories are kind of like a broad scope of a subject. It's like how you can have a subject called holidays. But if you want to get into the tags, it kind of is like faceted system. It's based on the Library of Congress's faceted cataloging system. Whereas you drill deeper, you want to you want to tag it so you can explore something specific. Like instead of holidays, maybe you want to explore UEE holidays or Banu holidays or Xi'an holidays. It gets really deep into
Sim,
the
a intenção é que,
Sherry,
tipo,
what do you have a master's degree in again?
I have a master's degree in
eles
library
coloquem a
science.
Galactipedia no jogo também,
That's one
no
of the reasons that I
Mobiglass.
started working here was so that I could design a
Você
system
vai poder
for
fazer
you
pesquisa
that is
a partir
intuitive, but also
do
useful.
game mesmo.
So I can click here
Não vai
on the
estar
bank
só no
tag,
site, não.
if it
Assim como era pra ser o Star Map, né? Star Map era pra ser algo
Alright, here,
integrado com o
let's
site, ou
É,
vice-versa.
vai ser,
Live
né?
demos
Vai
right there.
ser.
Yeah, indeed.
O negócio é
So,
quando, mas vai.
How about let's go to one of my favorite articles. I'm going to do alphabetically. Let's see what Ivar Messer is up to. Oh, there he is, from that poster that you may all be familiar with, the propaganda poster during the First Tevarin War. If you look at all the tag system here, you can click on the Messer dynasty, which is my shorthand for all the Messer family. And you can see all the articles, all the Messers that we have up so far. We have 9 of them up so far.
Nossa, cara.
You can click on, let's say,
Cara, quem
Lydia
gosta de
Messer,
ler
the
vai
third.
ser um prato cheio.
And you can see that here she is. I don't know if have you heard of Livia
Muito
Messer
bem,
before?
muito bem
Any
desenvolvido o
big
site,
Livia
cara.
Messer
Ficou
fans
muito
out there?
legal.
Anyone here?
Muito
Oh
legal.
yeah, we got.
Oh yeah, there we go. We got a Livia lover right there. She was the 3rd Messer, and hopefully soon, in the next couple of weeks, we will get all the Messers up, so you will know each horrible dictator who has
horrible
yeah,
person.
yeah, indeed. All right, let's go back home here. That about covers the system. Oh, I wanted to go over the main page real quick. So we're always going to have a featured article up right here. It's going to change. We haven't talked about
tartaruga.
scheduling, but I'm hoping we can change it once a week. Right now, our featured article is the tortoise that you all know and love. That's oh, yeah.
Vai perder o
and
trono
we also have little trending
de
articles, so
pet,
you
né,
can tell what
predileto pro
people are clicking
pinguim
on.
de
I hope
microtag.
that you're exploring based on
O que
what
vocês
tags
acham,
and
pessoal?
maybe people are clicking on links
Pinguim
to
ou
articles based on
tartaruga?
what's happening in the lore.
So those are the most viewed articles, like at the time.
Exactly. These are the most viewed articles at the time. And since we've only viewed a few so far from this particular console, so but it'll hopefully change on a day-to-day basis. We also put up this in the news section, so if there's something going on in lore, we can refer to it without breaking your immersion. I posted up Anvil Aerospace.
Oh, the sponsors of this year's CitizenCon.
Indeed. We know and love them. They do great stuff. This guy was recently updated. We replaced the picture with something better. So every time we update an article, you're going to see it posted right here. There's a random article if you just like to explore, and you can see which one you recently viewed right here. It'll change based on your clicking habits. And if you would like to explore it, you can, because it's live right now.
It's right now.
Yeah.
Não, tu falou que já tá aqui no ar.
Yeah.
So we hope you all get on there and get to try it out for yourself. It's pretty amazing.
And
Onde
we're
é que será que tá,
basically
cara?
kind of new content drops
Isso acho que é mó legal o URL agora.
so we can kind of keep expanding the number of entries that are in there, and then ultimately down the road be able to build those out, as Sherry said.
Yes, and we built it from the ground up to be able to integrate easily with MobiGlass, so you'll be able to view the Galactopedia in-game as well as out of
Aí,
game.
ó.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also,
Falando
ultimately,
sobre o MobiGlass.
They're going to work on integrating it into
integrado.
Star Map. So if you're on the Star Map and you see a name of a person mentioned in the description, you can click on that, and that will take you to the Galactopedia article. So it all kind of weaves together,
Yeah.
which is super cool.
Really, full hats off to Sherry for leading this effort
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
Herculean task.
Yeah, Sherry was the sort of driving force behind this, along with the awesome people at Turbulent.
Yes, and Ben Lesnick helped me write some of the entries. He contributed roughly, I would say, a fourth of the entries up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so basically, yeah, I mean,
Já
obviously,
acabou
get out there
a
and
apresentação
try it out.
deles?
Hopefully you guys dig it, and obviously let us know if there's anything.
Não sei. Parece que sim, né?
you think should-
Impressão minha ou a apresentação anterior comeu meia hora da
Yeah,
apresentação
we
da
should
Lord
get feedback.
Makers?
We'll do
We'll
that.
put that up next
We'll
week.
hop on that. But anyway,
I'm sure you'll let us know what's
Yeah,
wrong.
and I'd love to hear what do you want to see on the Galactopedia.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everybody. That's
Thank
it.
you so much.
É, acabou.